So yesterday, Georgi talked a little bit about stillness and the movement into stillness. And why it's so important to move into stillness. And partly what she brought forward, why it's so important to move into stillness, is because it helps you to less identificate with the traumatic state we call daily life experience. When we see most people functioning in daily life, they're surviving from one moment to the other moment. Their mind is absorbed by what other people are thinking of them, how they look, what they can do to belong, to be good enough. Survival. And this general state of survival is causing a lot of suffering. Suffering not only to yourself when you're in a state of survival, but also it's spreading suffering to the world, to our fellow men. We move in polarities. We move into whole structures of acceptance or rejection. And when you look at the structure of acceptance and rejection, it's already grandiose. Who are you to reject, or who are you to accept? That what is. It's pure illusion. So part of the movement in stillness is helping us to move into an atmosphere of acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of what there is in the moment. The whole idea that we're able to control our lives in a way that we can make it what we want it to be is an illusion. That if you do the right things and do it in the right way, everything will be okay, is a lie. It's a lie because it's a movement to the future. It's a movement into something which one day will happen. And do you really know what one day will happen? Do you really know where it's moving to? The only thing we know is that we moved to the future so often in the past. And always we got not enough fulfilled. It was never totally there. So the movement into stillness is a movement out of this state of survival. It's a first little step. It's to recognize what is the essence and what are the effects. And basically, it's not only about the movement into stillness, but it's also about integrating stillness in daily life. And integrating stillness in daily life is really helpful to get less entangled, to find more freedom. The freedom to start to experience life as it is, which is difficult enough. As trying to guide your experience into how it has to be, or what it should be. The difficulty is that, it's not, life is not a rose garden. It is really not. We are all here, nobody excepted. We are here because there is a need. There is a need for us to be here out of the whole we are part of. Any tree, any animal is here because there is a need for this animal to be here, for the whole. And we are part of that, we are part of the whole. So we're here because there is a need. Not because we're special, especially good or especially bad. It's really not about that. It's not about, having to do something, act in a certain way so the whole world will change. It's not about that either. We're here as a service to live our lives. And that's a lot. To live our lives means to find a way to relax into this physical realm, into a physical body. And allow ourselves to experience what this physical body, what this physical life is bringing forward, and what moves through us as an action, as a need. And that's a lot. So let's start with the experience of the physical body. So the physical body is not perfect. The physical body is carrying a history of generations. That means that unintegrated trauma from generations back is contained in the history of our body and coming forward. So if we are able to integrate a little bit of this uncontained trauma from our history, we are already of service. We liberate. There is always work to be done. There are always contractions. So the difficulty is when we move into a contraction, is that we believe that we are the contraction, that this is the truth, this is the only reality, this will never change. The moment we move into a traumatic state, which happens from day to day, it seems that this is forever. We believe that what we see, what we perceive, what life is at that moment is the truth. If you just simply look to a quarrel you have with a loved one, often when we have quarrels, when there's difficulties, we move into a contraction. When we have a fight. And then the day after the quarrel, you're able to look at it from totally different sides as when you had the quarrel. But when we are in a contraction, we walk with an anger, with a feeling, with an idea, with, an experience we think is absolutely true. This is the truth. This is reality. We don't really see the other person anymore. We just see our own trauma reflected in the other person. And so we're full with secret truth. Secret truth about the other sex. How do we look upon the other sex? What do we really think about males? What do we really think about females? And when there is a pressure on this trauma, it comes forward, and this truth comes forward, and we act according to it. If you have a deep belief that males are disloyal, they walk after their prick, and there is a male close to you who gets in love with somebody which is not you, of course this will happen. Of course he will desert you. Of course he will move like this. Just as an example. There is a programming. There is this deep programming we get through our education, through the body. This programming we believe in, this is true. Part of the programming also is that we don't need to suffer. That if you're in pain, or you're suffering, or you're sick, something is wrong with you. If you're vulnerable, if you're beaten up, if you're shot, if you're raped, something is wrong with you. If you get a child which dies or is different, something is wrong with you. And it's not according to ourselves only, but we look also into the world like this. when there is rape, too horrible to describe in Africa, it's because they're not developed. Something is wrong with them. This is all expression of trauma. All these things happening is expression of trauma. And as long as we are strongly identified with the or, you or me, identified with the person that we have to be somebody. No, this is in the future. We have to become somebody. We have to be somebody. We don't know who we are, but we have to be somebody. We have to be something. And this something is always outside ourselves. It's not inside ourselves. It's not, who am I? It's dictated. As long we're identifying with this form which is an illusion, we are caught in this loop of violence, this loop of trauma. We are caught in a suffering which is endless. It will never be okay. Never. This is a dead-end street. So this little step of investing into stillness, to invest in something inside which is free of this struggle, makes a lot of change already, but it's a little step. This little step, kind of, by being curious, what is looking? What is aware? What is conscious? It's just a little step. It's a curiosity. Makes a lot of difference. Just to invest in that, to look into that. What is it? How come that I hear? What is hearing? What is behind the senses? What is behind the seeing? What's behind the sense of seeing? What is registering? What is conscious of what you are seeing? This little step makes a lot of difference. Life is changing all the time. Our bodies are changing. We work on ourselves. Our situation is changing. We feel more or less free. Liberated from maybe some fears. Liberated maybe from, and we have the feeling, because we're liberated from some fears, that we are better people. We are more free. When we are able to live more from a positive feeling, we have the feeling that we are more free. And when we are more positive towards life, we less suffer, as that when we are negative all the time. When we are negative, we expect the negative and we will see the negative, and so it enlarges the suffering. And maybe that's better. Because both the positive and the negative is a polarity. It's either or. And both of it is an illusion. It is what it is. It's not defining us. It's not saying anything about us. It really is what it is. So the movement beyond positive or negative. This is the real important thing. The movement beyond polarity. So when you look, life is changing all the time. What's positive for you is negative for another. What's negative for another can be positive for you. What's positive for another can be negative for you. And it's all the time kind of changing. But the one who is witnessing, the one who is aware, the one who is, aware of what, conscious of what is coming through to the eyes, that one is not changing. That one was the same when you were born. Will be the same as you die. Mm-hmm. That one is not changing. And then after a while it will die with you. Because this is not ultimately what we are, but that's not the most important. So much meditation is a tool. It's not the end point. Meditation is a tool to move more into the area which is non-dual. Mm-hmm. Beyond the duality of physical life. And from this area which is non-dual, we're able to contain both sides. The positive and the negative. It's both there. It's ultimate good and ultimate bad. Both